Hey guys, and welcome to a new video. So I know making samples can get super complicated sometimes, and to be fair, I'm actually catching myself overthinking my samples too. So today I'm literally going to show you guys the easiest way to make samples that producers actually want to use. So when it comes to making samples that producers actually want to use, we pretty much need to nail some super simple things. Now the sample needs to be catchy, it definitely needs space for drums, and we also need to make it a bit simple so it's not too complex sounding. Now I have actually just released a new free sample pack. It's this record sample pack. It's got 10 crazy sounding samples you guys can use, and they're actually all royalty free to use as well. So if you guys want to check that out, just check out the first link down below. But I actually have a sample in that kit that I want to break down for you guys, because the sample pretty much contains everything you need to know when it comes to making these type of samples. Alright, so we're here in FL. Right here is the record sample pack that I told you guys about, and the sample I want to break down is this first one right here, To the Sky E minor, and it sounds like this. So as you guys heard, it's a pretty catchy sample, but it's still super easy to make. So when you're making samples that producers actually want to use, I would usually recommend 4 main points. The first point should pretty much be a main melody. This is the melody that's going to ride a whole sample. So it's pretty much going to loop over and over again, but it's going to sound catchy. So in this case, it's the first guitar. Now the second element should be a nice backing type of instrument. This is basically something that's just going to give the sample a bit more life. That's going to fill it out a bit more and give it some more ambience. In this case, it's the vocal in the background. Now the third and probably most important step for the sample is to have some sort of top line or a B section to the sample. This is pretty much the instrument that's going to give a nice groove to the sample we have made, so we can kind of switch between one part and the other part. This is especially useful for having 2 different parts in the hook. Now the fourth and final element should pretty much just be some texture in the background, just to make the sample a bit more unique and make it stand out a bit more. So let's firstly cover the guitar we have right here. So you can hear the main guitar loop is pretty simple, but it still sounds a bit catchy. And the reason for this is actually because I'm using several of the same notes. I'm actually using this F 3 times before I'm switching to another note. And that again is just going to make it more catchy, because our ears have actually already heard the note. So we're pretty used to it already. So I'm just going to delete this and make something similar for you guys, just so you can pretty much get my point. Now the BPM is 90 and the scale is F minor. So we're just going to start on this F right here. Make sure you're working in a low velocity down here too. Now, as I said, you want to use the same note several times. So I'm just going to copy this over 3 times again. Then I'm just going to go down to this C sharp, but I'm going to pitch it up by 1 octave like this. And then we can play around with some more notes. So now we can just use this F again, but this time we're again going to pitch it up by 1 octave, use this C, and then towards the end, we can just switch it up a little bit. So we can try this A sharp down here, maybe just extend this, and then we can play this F once again. Let's just see how this sounds. Now you definitely want to adjust a little bit of the velocity. So just hit Alt R on your keyboard like this. Now we can also extend these notes. And we're going to do a slight switch up on the second part. We can have this A sharp again. I'm just going to hold Alt on my keyboard and move this F slightly to the side so they don't hit on the same time. And then I'm also just going to pitch this down by 1 octave. Now we have a super simple but catchy pattern. So I'm just going to copy this over and pitch it down by 5 semitones. Now just for this last part, since we're looping back to this upper part, I just want to make this go upwards instead of downwards. So I'm again just going to adjust this one up by 1 octave, and then we can also just pitch this up to this A5. So that's pretty much the pattern. Now, just so it's not too repetitive, so I'm just going to go to these notes that have these half steps right here and just pitch them down by 1 semitone. Now for the effects, just add some reverb, some saturation. I'm just using this acoustic guitar preset, some fresh air just to give it some color, some RC20, and lastly some EQ just to cut out the low end for this guitar. Now let's take a listen to the guitar with the effects on. So this is basically the idea behind the first element of the sample, which is the main guitar pattern that's going to loop over and over. So now let me just paste my original pattern back. And now for the second point, which was the backing instrument. For this sample, I'm just using this vocal right here. It's this Windstorm preset in Arcade. The effects for the vocal is just a sound shifter. It's pitched up by 12 semitones, so it's literally just 1 octave higher. This is just going to make the vocal sound a bit lighter. Then there's roam at about 41%, so it's pretty much just a reverb. And lastly, a high cut EQ. And together with the guitar, it sounds like this. So the idea behind this vocal is, like I said, to fill out the sample a bit more. The guitar sounds pretty dry on its own, so you need these type of backing instruments to make it fill out a bit more. It gives it some more ambience and it just fills out the whole sample, like I said. But as you saw, the effects and everything are super simple, so you don't need to overcomplicate this at all. Now for the third point, and like I said, this is pretty much the main point. It is what's going to differentiate your samples from the rest. It's this catchy top line over the main sample. So this is the sound that is going to differentiate from an A part to a B part. In this case, it's this guitar top line. So you can seriously hear how it adds so much to the guitar and the vocal we already made. And you can of course play this guitar by yourself, but I actually just used this chopped preset in Arcade. And for the effects, again, they were super simple. All I did was just copy the exact same effects from the vocal over to the guitar. So you can actually just right click on the second insert where you have the vocal, go to File and go to Save Mixer Track State As. You just want to click and drag this to your third insert where you have the guitar, and it's literally going to copy the exact same effects over. So now lastly, the fourth point is just a texture. I'm actually using this Summer Burst texture from my Imperial one-shot kit. It's in this textures folder right here. So you can of course go check out that one-shot kit as well if you want to. It's literally got over 200 crazy sounds. So the texture is pretty much something that is a bit more unique to the sample, and it just gives it a slight bit of touch to the sample. Now when it comes to the arrangement right here, you definitely want to have your main and most catchiest part in the start. So I have this part where I have all the instruments playing, then I'm just taking out the top guitar, but I'm still leaving the vocal and the main guitar in. Just leaving out the vocal and putting back the guitar. Lastly, just the main guitar. Now lastly, don't forget to do this. You for sure need to stem out each part of the sample at the end like this. This is just so the producer can flip around the arrangement however he likes. So when you're finished with the sample and you have arranged it and everything, then you can just make it into a waveform like this. And a pro tip right here is actually to double click on your sample, and then you can actually play a little bit around with the pitch of the sample. So I've just pitched it down by 1 semitone. And now to give you an example of how easy it is for a producer to use this sample, then I'm just going to open up a fresh new FL right here, go into the sample pack and just drag it in. So if the producer likes the sample, all he has to do is just lower the BPM to the correct one, cut out each part right here, and literally just put them in order like this. So now we can start off with some drums. All the sounds I'm using are coming from my No Limit drum kit. Let's start off with this open hat on the first hit right here, and let's go with this nice clap as well. Just go in here and lower a little bit of the velocity. Not too much though. Let's drag in this clean hi-hat. This is bouncy. Oof. That rim right there is crazy. Right after the open hat as well. Yeah, just lower the velocity like that. Yeah, that's nice. Just some more perks. Now let's go in with the 808. We just need to layer that 808 with a kick. So I'm quickly just going to arrange this, and then I'll walk you guys through the beat. So this is pretty much the full beat. Just the guitar and the vocal in the start.
Shut up, Marko. Marko.
Just the guitar on the hook. Then for the second part, we bring back the vocal and the guitar. For the vocal, we have a different bass pattern and just the guitar. Both guitars playing now, but without the vocal. Then we fade it out with the guitar and the vocal, but with no drums. Then it just comes back in.